Hello everyone, Xeno What If here. Bring in part 2 What If Jon Arc was a Mandalorian. Link in the description of the fanfiction of this What If. Listen here YouTube. I do not own anything and this is not a scam. Chapter 4. After the team announcements, Jon and Lilith was setting up their room. While Pira, Ren and Nora enters the room. Then Jon and Lilith saw them looking at them curiously. Jon, well I believe it's time for our introductions, this is my daughter Lilith. Nora was fast to hug the girl. Nora, you're so cute. Oh and she has a tail, is she a faunus? What kind? Jon pulls Lilith away from Nora since she is still uncomfortable with strangers. Jon, yes and she's a rabbit faunus. And please don't do that again without Lilith's consent, she is still afraid of strangers. Nora deflated and said, I am sorry. Ren, you're a bit too young to be a father. Jon, she's adopted but she is my daughter nonetheless, anyone who doubts that claim, I put in the ground understand. Ren taken aback by the sudden rise in tension but nods in respect, understanding how protective a parent is of their child. Ren, sorry I was just curious. Jon, you do know curiosity killed the cat. Team RWBY room. Blake sneezes. Back to JNPR. Ren, I suppose. Pira, so you're a single dad. Jon, yes, and my name is Jon Arc by the way. Ren, Ren. Nora, I'm Nora Valkyrie. Pira, hello I'm Pira Nikos. As the team got to know each other they fixed up their dorm room and went to sleep. Next day, the team were done getting dressed with Lilith in casual clothes. They heard a whistle being blown next door. The door to Team RWBY's room opened. Jon, what's going on here? RWBY, Jon we were just making bunk beds. Jon, that looks like a hazard more than anything. Young, hey, we worked hard making them. Jon, either way we have first period in 10 minutes. Team RWBY looked at their clocks and then scrambled to get dressed. Team JNPR went ahead to class and waited for their sister team. At the classroom, Jon, well seems like the professor is late, lucky for Team RWBY. Said team quickly enters the room and takes their seats. Jon, I guess if you're gonna do some team bonding exercise, you should schedule it first. Young, haha buckethead yuck it up. Jon, it's just to tease not offend if you feel too insulted, I'll stop right now. Young, oh you don't have to be that uptight, I was just teasing back. Jon, I was trained in archaic ways so I respect women properly, what I said before although teasing is an advice of goodwill. RWBY, don't worry Jon, Yaji always goes overboard sometimes. Young, hey, a portly man enters the room. Port, I am Professor Port, who here is ready to learn. A few minutes of learning. Lilith was beginning to get bored. Jon warned her not to listen to the blowhard stories and opted to give her his scroll and in headphones to watch educational programs instead. Port, who here wishes to show us what a huntsman truly is. Jon beat Weiss to the punch and raises his hand first. Port, Mr. Arc kindly show us how it is done. Jon leaves for the locker room and he asks his team to watch over Lilith. Jon walks into the arena in his armor. Port, well you certainly dress in the old ways. And Port saw the markings and recognized one of the ranch families of the ancient warrior clans. Port reveals a Borbatusk in a cage for his little test. Port, are you ready Mr. Arc? Jon, as ready as I'll ever be. Port opens the cage with his blunderbuss axe. The Borbatusk charges at Jon but Jon in blinding speed draw the DL-44 on his right and quickly dispatched the Grim with a shot in the eye and dies immediately. The class was stunned silent. Port, my word. We are in the presence of a true huntsman. Jon holstered his weapon in typical fashion. Jon walks back to the locker room. RWBY, did you see that? He was like whoosh bang. Young, yeah RWBY we saw. Nora, yeah, fearless leader. Ren, Nora calm down. Lilith, that's my papa. Later that day all happened as Canon Weiss berates RWBY and Ozpin's speeches to both of them. Later in Ublek's history class. Ublek was discussing his class in his own speedy way. Jon used his scroll to record the lesson while he shared his book with his daughter and teaches her. Ublek, now who can tell me about the turning point of the war? Weiss raised her hand. Ublek, Miss Schnee. Weiss, The Battle of Fort Castle. Oobleck. Now who can tell me the advantage the Faunus had during the battle? Cardin threw a piece of paper to John's head but avoided it. He looked at him. In turn caught Oobleck's attention. Oobleck. Mr. Ark, thank you for contributing to the class. John looked at Cardin suspiciously and began to answer the doctor's question. John. Yes, their advantage was night vision. Oobleck. That is correct, thank you Mr. Ark. Anyone else would like to add? Mr. Winchester. Cardin. PFFF. It's easier to train an animal than a soldier. Pyrrha looks at him indignantly. Cardin. What, you got something to say? Pyrrha. You're not the understanding type of person, aren't you, Cardin? Cardin. What did you? Oobleck. Mr. Winchester, sit back down. Blake. The general made a colossal error on attacking the Faunus during the night, which led to the general's capture and the loss of the battle. If he'd paid attention in class, maybe he wouldn't be remembered as such a failure. Cardin. Why you? Oobleck. Mr. Winchester, stay after class, so I may speak with you about your behavior. Class thus ended. Chapter 5. Beacon Mess Hall. John and Lilith carry their lunch and made their way to RWBY and NPR's table. Young. So how's it like being a single-parent buckethead? John. Well, it is difficult at times, but Lilith is one of the reasons I enjoy life. Lilith. Yeah, Papa brings me on his adventures. John told Lilith to refer to his bounty hunting as adventures as to not cause attention. Nora. Ooh, can you tell me about it? Lilith excitedly says, Papa beat a whole bandit tribe. Single quote. Everyone looks at John surprised. John. Honey, I told you not to share my missions in public. Lilith looks dejected and say, I'm sorry, Papa. John. It's all right as long as you learn, honey. He said as he pats her head. Blake smiles at the exchange. Weiss. Do you bring your daughter in dangerous situations? John. Well, excuse me, not everyone can afford a house to live in. And besides, we've been traveling. Weiss, although offended by the sass, but understands not everyone has an easy money like her. Everyone was getting along until they heard a scream. Velvet. Ow. Please stop. The group looks over to the same rude idiot pulling on a rabbit Faunus's ear. John was immediately enraged. To be at Beacon is to be trained as an elite protector, and this moron is bullying a student. Pyrrha. How despicable. Weiss. You got that right. Everyone glares but don't do anything. Blake just couldn't expose herself but felt ashamed and powerless. Then John stood up and marched towards the group, shocking the teams. John. You call yourself a huntsman? Cardin. What, you an animal lover or something? John then proceeds to grab Cardin's hand and breaks it, making him let go of Velvet. Cardin. Arg, get him. Then John teaches them a lesson by beating it into their thick skulls as he punched, kicked and kneed them everywhere imaginable. John. A huntsman protect the helpless, not abuse them. He turns to the girl and asks. John. Are you alright? Velvet. Yeah. John saw her bruise and held out his hand toward her ear. She recoiled, but John eases her worries. John. Let me look at it. Velvet nods. John's hand glowed white and touched her ear. A warm sensation could be felt and her ear is healed. Velvet. Why would you do that for me? I'm a Faunus. John. It's a huntsman's duty to help those in need. Velvet smiles. Glinda enters the mess hall. Glinda. What is going on here? John. This team were bullying and harassing a student and I, in an act of defense, stood up for her. Glinda just sighed but understood the moral compass the Mandalorians possessed and just expected something like this to happen. Deciding to punish only Team CRDL, she carries them out of the mess hall and into the infirmary. They continued their day with RWBY mimicking John's heroics. A while later. Combat class. Glinda. Alright, the next fight will be between Cardin Winchester and John Ark. Cardin leaves to get ready. As John leaves, Lilith pulls on his sleeve. Lilith. Good luck, Papa. John. Love you too, honey, but remember there is no such thing as luck. The class look on surprise as this student has a daughter present in a Faunus. At that, RDL took notice and thought to inform Cardin by scroll. John left to get his equipment. The two emerged from the locker rooms. Cardin with a smirk. Glinda. Okay, you both know the rules. If your aura goes to red or you get sent out of the ring, you lose, understood? John nods. Cardin. Yeah, whatever. Glinda just glares at Cardin. Glinda. Match begin. The two circled one another. Cardin losing his patience attacks first. Jaune easily dodges the sloppy attacks and he retaliates by using his Beskar sword. Finally having enough of being bashed around decided to get under Jaune's skin. Cardin, so a little birdie told me something nice. Jaune, Cardin, I know why you care for those freaks, you impregnated one, a god, an abomination as a child. Jaune stood still. Blake suddenly felt so much anger. No one could tell what thoughts are going through his mind. Wearing his helmet no one could tell what expression he had, but teams RWBY and PNR could feel a murderous intent radiating from Jaune. Lilith from the tables yelled, "Leave my papa alone." Cardin, seeing the reaction, decided to press his luck and taunted even further. Cardin, looks like you didn't teach that brat any manners. I'll teach her how to respect us humans by beating the lesson into her head. Glinda heard everything, decided to stop the match until she saw Ozpin at the doorway, who signaled her to let it continue. Jaune first removed his sword, his holsters, his jetpack, his vambraces and his helmet. Glinda was about to protest the action but was met with the most terrifying glare. She stopped. Jaune, by Mandalorian law a threat to our family must be met by ancient unarmed combat. Cardin smiles and thought his victory is secured. Fighting unarmed is suicide. Cardin, oh so you think. He was cut off by a punch with blinding speed. Jaune proceeded to quickly destroy Cardin, slowly but surely broke every bone with a sickening crunch that fills the air, with Cardin screaming for help. Glinda was stopped by Ozpin interfering. Jaune towering over Cardin's broken form and looks at the whole class and spoke. Jaune, I know racism doesn't care who it preys upon, but if I hear anyone threaten or treats, whisper or gossip about my daughter being a faunus. Points to Cardin. Jaune, this is my answer. The whole class shivers at the intensity of his glare. Then he left the arena. Chapter 6. After the breaking, everything just continued as canon. Beacon rooftop. Jaune gazes up at the moon along with Lilith. Pyrrha approaches the duo. Pyrrha, what are you doing up here, Jaune? Jaune, we're just stargazing and I'm just contemplating life. Pyrrha, is something bothering you? Jaune, a bit, I'm still thinking of my family I left behind. Pyrrha, why? Is there a problem? Jaune, deciding to trust his partner, said. Jaune, yeah, I just ran away without saying a word. I got into an argument with my father about my dream and he didn't support me. Pyrrha, I'm sorry to hear that, I know what it feels like to not be given what you truly want. Jaune, well at least I'm not alone. I just wanted to be here because of my dream. But now that I'm here I see that huntsmen aren't the heroes I expected they would be. Pyrrha, what do you mean? Jaune, my dream was to help people, but what I saw disgusted me. Even though he is supposed to be a future huntsman, he was just as bad, same as a filthy bandit. And when Velvet got bullied for her race I was worried for Lilith. But what pissed me off the most is no one helped her and just watched. Pyrrha, maybe they were just worried that they would get into trouble. Jaune, that is what heroes shouldn't do. They do the right thing regardless of consequences. Jaune apologized to both Pyrrha and Lilith. Jaune, I'm just frustrated, all I wanted was to help people but I was denied my dreams and Cardin of all people is allowed to go to Beacon. Jaune, why must the world be unfair? Pyrrha put a hand on his shoulder to help calm him down. Pyrrha, I know that the world is unfair but we have to keep moving right. That's how I faced my days in the arena. Jaune nods and remember his grandfather's teachings. Jaune, I believe I still have much to learn, to become emotional like that. Pyrrha, Jaune, to feel is to be human, there's nothing wrong with that. Jaune, but still, I was taught better and I should be never be sorry. Just be better. Pyrrha, kinda old-fashioned there. Jaune, well my family is pretty ancient. Pyrrha, well let's get back to our dorm, it's getting cold up here. They returned to their dorm. Unbeknownst to them Cardin was listening in. Cardin, a runaway, this could be good blackmail material. The next day at Forever Falls. Glinda, alright, stay with your groups and collect your share of the sap and we'll meet back here in 2 hours. Cardin pulled Jaune aside, leaving Lilith with his team. Cardin threatens to expose his secret but Jaune simply shoves him off. Jaune, this is your only warning, you have crossed me 2 times already, the 3rd time I will not be so mercifully. Jaune rejoined his team and they began doing their projects. Jaune, Lilith, stay close to me. Lilith. Okay Papa. I found some sap. John. Good job Lilith. You're learning from our survival training. John. Pyrrha, is the area still clear? Pyrrha. Nothing as of yet. John. Ren. Why is it, we only have one jar of sap? Ren. Nora keeps eating them. John, having a migraine. This is not good behavior when you're traveling, but he can't rebuke her, this is just an exercise. Everyone is doing well until his helmet alerted him of an incoming projectile. John. Pyrrha. Look out. Raising her shield in time to block a jar smashing into it. Then another jar flew through the air, but this time John shot it out of the sky with his DL-44. John looked over to a nearby ridge with his rangefinder only to spot Cardin and his idiots laughing. John could hear buzzing suddenly. John. Rapier wasps. Guys, protect Lilith. Everyone dispatched the bugs. John was beyond pissed. Not only Cardin attacked his team, now he has endangered his daughter, now John is out for blood. Pyrrha. John, what was that? John. Someone planned this attack on us and I'm gonna deal with him. He said darkly. John. Everyone watch over Lilith. Then John left. Cardin. Ha ha ha, that should teach them to humiliate me. John lands behind Cardin. John. Your blackmail attempt and insults are one thing, but endangering my daughter, well, you're good as dead. Cardin. Oh really, it's 4v1, you're dead meat. John. Arrogance and stupidity all in one package. How efficient of you. Cardin. Grr. Get him. John simply disarmed them by shooting their weapons out of their hands like this. John. Now any more bright ideas from the peanut gallery? Cardin picked up his mace, then hears growling from behind them. It was an Ursa Major. RDL ran away like cowards, leaving Cardin to fend for himself. John allowed Cardin to show his worth and let him battle the Ursa. Sadly, Cardin only lasted a few moments before he was incapacitated by the bear. John, having seen enough, he quickly drew and shot at the beast, but to his surprise the shots bounced off the blonde plating. Seems like this Ursa is an ancient Grim due to the fact it had more armor and strategically fought Cardin without taking damage. John. Huh, you're tough. Alright, let's see if you're tougher than Beskar. He uses his vambrace to block the claw and decapitates the beast. John. Guess Beskar is still the best. Pyrrha and RWBY joined in and saw the kill. RWBY was about to speak, but Pyrrha stopped her. John approaches Cardin. John. I warned you to stop your bullshit, but you don't listen to you. This is the last warning of you ever endanger my team or forbid my daughter, and it will result in your permanent end. When they returned to Beacon, Cardin reported that John was a runaway. Ozpin blocked the scandal before it got worse by revealing recordings of what happened in Forever Falls. Cardin was looked down upon by the entire student body, but the damage was done. News reached the Ark residence. And Mr. and Mrs. Ark is on their way to Beacon. And this at the end of part 2 this what if. Hope you guys like it. Do not forget to leave a comment down below and subscribe to the channel.